Hello, welcome to another Commander Deck artwork flip through video. So we're on to the fourth of the 5 decks from Commander 2021, also known as Commander Strixhaven School of Mages, I suppose, because this was at a point where they were actually name checking the set in the Commander product on the boxes, which they hadn't done before, even though there was some alignment and had been for quite a while between the Commander product and a particular set of the year, because the Commander product for the we're getting like 4 or 5 decks, though that run of the product was coming out every year since 2011. They skipped in 2012, but what's interesting is next week I'll be on to the last deck of the 5 from Commander 2021. So after that, I'm going to loop back to that the year of Commander, where they released, I think, was it 2 decks per set for the other sets between Commander 2020 and Commander 2021. So yeah, it'd be good to get through those, and then we're done. So let's have a look. This is the red-white deck, the Lorehold Legacies. As I've pointed out with all of these decks, the foil card that they often included in these, they were usually oversized cards, as well as the main foil that's actually in the deck. But they had this time round, they did this slightly thicker, like plastic material, and it was a more matte finish on this version of it. So you've got this version of it, which replaced the oversized cut version of the Commander, and then you actually have the card itself here, like a regular version. So just 2 foils in this deck. So the regular Commander, which is Osgir, the Reconstructor, and then the alternate Commander, which in this deck, which is Alibu, Ancient Witness. And I'll include a link to my original unboxing so you can see the cards in all of their glory, and possibly for that I talk a little bit more about the deck. So let's go through, as always, we'll go through other legendary cards first, both creatures and planeswalkers of whatever rarity they're at, and then we'll move through the rest of the deck roughly in rarity order through the different card types. So yeah. And you'll notice here, I don't know if it was pointed out, but as was the case for quite a while now, they'd altered the sort of inner border design on the legendary cards to add this sort of flourishing stuff. But yeah, only on the creatures, not on the planeswalkers here, at least anyway. So there is actually another red-white legendary here, but it's not considered to be an alternate, because there was only, like I say, a main Commander and then one alternate. So Bosch was in the deck. And then we're moving on to some interesting artifact stuff. So we've got Steel Overseer. The Scrap Trawler. So you might notice the presence of a number of artifacts, creatures, artificers, those sort of things as we go through this deck. It's a Steel Hellkite. Love this card. Duplicant. You may recognise some of these cards as well, possibly because we're going through at the moment and looking at decks around the era of Mirrodin when this video's originally going out. So yeah, there might be some stuff there that you might recognise, or cards that have ended up in a deck as a result of me doing the running the algorithm on the in the Commander fodder episode. But of course, at this era of Magic, there's a lot of artifacts and artifact-related cards to choose from. And just the overall card pool. And I've often wondered how hard it is to design like an artifact heavy deck that doesn't inadvertently warp like something outside a standard, just because if they're colourless artifacts which have no additional cost in terms of other colours of magic, then they can go in any deck. So the potential for unforeseen synergies must be very high when designing artifact heavy sets. I suppose that could be true of any set where also there's a high number of colourless cards, like we've seen in sort of Eldrazi themed sets. So we're still on our higher rarities here. And we're also seeing a number of artifacts where there is actually a colour in the casting cost and or a colour in the rules text, although you can't see that obviously when we're just looking at the artwork. Okay. Exotic Orchids cropping up quite a bit in the rare slot for the non-basic lands, I've noticed. And generally they're being a bit more generous, I think, with land in rare slots. Okay. Uncommons, Darksteel Mutation. Already starting to recognise a lot of classic cards here, which is always nice. That usual suspect feeling once you get onto the lower rarities. Also, as I pointed out, notice that some of these cards have the Strixhaven logo on them in the bottom corner. This is something that had slowly been coming in over Magic product, Commander product recently, for the last few decks back, obviously in this set, but before, when they were including alongside the usual whatever the Commander symbol was for that particular set, also any cards that were specifically from the set it was released alongside. And if you've watched any of the previous episodes of these, you'll know they also did that with the basic land as well. Okay, so one uncommon, is that just the only uncommon land? Yeah, Boros Garrison. Yeah, it was a strange thing, like in terms of overall cycles being featured in the deck, you get this situation where part of the cycle might be in the uncommon slot and the rest of it be in the common. I mean, not necessarily in this deck because it's a two colour red white deck, but I have noticed that with other decks in Commander, how the cycle can sometimes be when it appears in a Commander product, can actually have different rarities for different cards. Okay, so we now are in very much in common territory, and yeah, definitely I'm starting to recognise a lot more cards. Oh, there's Faithless Looting. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, which is interesting to see in red, because often it's round the other way, you know, you discard first before you draw. Like a rummaging effect. Yep, Arcane Signet was cropping up with a good degree of irregularity in these. Cool Wellspring. Got a Commander Sphere there, and another card that was sort of coming up quite a bit. Obviously we've already seen the Soul Ring, even though I didn't specifically necessarily point it out. So now we're on to the lower rarity non-basics. So yeah, I must have accidentally, I just realised I put that the Boros one a little bit earlier. Yeah, Myriad Landscape. Interesting to see Phyrexia's Core in here, but I mean not because it's because it is obviously synergizes with artifacts, but just seeing the card after not seeing it for a while. Oh, Rogue's Passage, Temple of the False Guard. Yeah. Moving on to some common non-basics here. We've got Command Tower, Study Hall. This was in all the decks, wasn't it? Lorehold Campus. So there were some of these 2-colour basic, non-basic lands from the actual Strixhaven School of Mages set. And in this one, no surprise, we do have we've got Ancient Den there, which is an artifact land from Mirrodin. Cycling there, Forgotten Cave. Great Furnace, which is the other artifact land. And now we move on to the basics. So here, as I pointed out in previous ones, you're just going to see 2 different types of artwork per mana. So yeah, we're there. So that was 4 of one type of artwork. On to the second one now. Down to the mountains. First artwork. Okay, 6 of those, and then the second one. Interesting the sort of arrangement here. We see that in the other colours of mana for the basic lands as well, cropping up. Might not be so obvious in some of the artwork than others, but it's there. Okay, so now we move on to the tokens, as always. So 10 tokens, but they're double-sided, or 10 cards, they're double-sided, so 20 tokens in all. But we've got Treasure here and a Mir, so I think they're spitting out Mir tokens. So I think probably we're going to see quite a number of those here. I don't know whether it's going to be a case of all the way down, which you do sometimes. I'm probably not here. No, we can see we're now on to a copy token, which is something that started appearing. Copy on a construct. Yeah, I'm not sure at what point I mean, not just in Commander product, but just outside of it. But at what point Magic WotC started printing copy tokens for things, you know, for cards that say create a copy of this. It's obviously specifically so that was a Golem and a Thopter. Golem and Thopter. At least they changed out the Golem tokens a little bit. Golem and a Thopter. Yeah, so with those copies, it's obviously specifically a copy of a permanent there. Yeah, I think. So there we have it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. It was nice to look through a previous deck, the Strixhaven School of Mages, one of those, the Lorehold Legacies. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I will catch you in a future video.